Having built a turntable, phonoamp, preamp and power amp, we've now reached a point where some form of loudspeaker is needed to convert a stream of electrons from the power amp into mechanical energy or sound waves. Again, there's a plethora of choice, and I've selected the famous, legendary even, BBC LS3 5A bookshelf speaker design. So the LS3 5A is a studio monitor loudspeaker designed by the BBC, used primarily in outside broadcast vans, and it's been embraced by the audiophile community as a small, accurate speaker, suited to voice, classical and chamber music, but perhaps not so suited to the rock type of sound. After some years of design work, the BBC research people at Kingswood Warren, they granted licenses in about 1975 to manufacture the LS3 5A to a total of 11 British firms, and over the years upwards of 60,000, some people say 100,000 pairs of the 5A have been sold. The design classically uses the KEF B110 and the KEF T27 drive units and a rather sophisticated crossover. Now, various subversions of all these parts have appeared over the years, but primarily the basic KEF B110 T27 part numbers seem to have been constant. The KEF base unit is a 110mm design, and it's got a Bextrine cone and a neoprene surround, so fairly standard stuff really. And the KEF T27 is a 19mm mylar dome and has a perforated grille, which we think is needed for the outside broadcast van environment actually. So the loudspeaker enclosure is, the design of it is very strictly specified to use only birchwood and beech bracing, and has a finished volume of about 5 litres. Indeed, Martin Collins from Hi-Fi Critic said, "Hardly any component in either enclosure or driver may be substituted without the blend suffering audible disturbance. This is because the 3.5A sets such a high standard for tonal balance that errors, which would pass unnoticed in an ordinary speaker, are exposed." So these speakers are really very, very good, and if made to the exacting standards of the BBC, they will sound very, very good, and consequently they've been a big commercial success over a lengthy production time. Art Dudley commented in Stereophile that the LS3 5A had a towering significance as a bookshelf design, and some might say in fact that the design was the original bookshelf speaker, and really all modern bookshelves probably follow on from the BBC LS3 5A. Now, my LS3 5A clones are built from cases that do conform closely to the original spec using birch and beech, and I've got a walnut veneer. And hence these would be some of the few speakers that aren't made from MDF, which is what everything is made from nowadays. These cases I bought pre-constructed from some supplier in Czechoslovakia, if I remember. But I see now you can get copies from China. The drive units though, now these I've reclaimed from a pair of KEF Cresta 2 speakers, which had the same pair of speakers in as the LS3 5A, and they're close to the original specification, but purists would say they're not entirely accurate. However, the absolutely accurate speaker drive units are now very sought after and exceedingly expensive, so my cheaper solution will just have to do. Now, I would say that having constructed these speakers using the parts reclaimed in this way, that the finished result is really quite impressive and pretty accurate and not tiring to the ears even after some hours. So good enough. But yes, one day I might spring for a genuine set of drive units. Maybe. So we reach a point in this series where the entire audio chain from turntable to loudspeakers has been addressed. And in part 7, I think what I'll do is hook up all the units and finally show how to play an LP.